Hey guys, it's Danny. Exciting video today. I have a new orchid, so it's gonna be a pretty long video. So let me tell you what we're gonna do today. Present this orchid, tell you where I purchased it from. It's the second eBay purchase, and finish up the review for the seller. Second, we're gonna repot it and we're gonna have a little discussion about the setup that I chose for this orchid, and we're gonna dip into the subject of semi-hydro a little bit because I read up on stuff and there are some concerns and issues that I do want to address. Then I'm gonna show you the medium I'm gonna use and how I prepared it, and finally we're gonna pot it up, so hope it's gonna be an interesting video. Let's get started. Alrighty, so the beautiful plant you see in front of you, it's another Phragmipedium, and again, it's from the same seller. Last week I posted a video with my first purchase from the seller from eBay. You have the link to the seller down below and also to the video about that orchid. And this is the second purchase that I made. It's another Phragmipedium that I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy, but it was for sale for about a week. Nobody purchased it and I went ahead and purchased it. This incredible, bushy, magnificent looking plant is a Phragmipedium Memoria Dick Clemens. It's a red Phragmipedium and it's a Bessay hybrid. If you know a thing or two about Phragmipediums, you might already know this when somebody says, I have a red Phragmipedium. It was about half the price of the other one. I think in my previous video I told you the other one was 36 euros. It was 36 pounds. Sorry, I get a little bit confused. This one was 20 or 21 pounds, so almost half the price of the other one. And it looks a lot bushier. But the other one has those long petals. It generally is more expensive than this one. But can you believe that for this entire bush of a plant I paid that much? Plus 10 pounds transport, which is almost exactly what the box in which it came with says. As for this orchid, you guys, it's enormous. I mean, I saw it in picture, but I didn't really imagine it would be like this. Now, I didn't intend to really repot this orchid so soon, but I have to. Because when I unpacked it, it was upside down, I didn't realize it, and some medium fell, and I did this on top of my trash bin, so I couldn't really put the medium back, and this orchid is too high. With Phragmipediums, you don't want that. Therefore, we kind of need to repot it pretty fast. Okay, so one of the most common ways of growing Phragmipedium orchids is in semi-hydroponics, actually. I'm not entirely sure if more people grow them in semi-hydroponics than in traditional bark and just leave some water in the tray, but there is quite the community that grows them in semi-hydroponics, and I was very tempted to give it a go, to make a setup with a reservoir pot and just grow them semi-hydroponically. But as I was researching some threads, and I'll link you down below to one of them, somebody was asking about semi-hydro with paths and frags, and people were replying with their experience, and something caught my attention. Some people were suggesting that they seem to do great for about 2 years or maybe 3, and then all of a sudden everything plummets without any particular reason. So people were returning back to organic. Now I thought to myself, what could be the sound explanation for that? Since we're using an organic medium, decomposition of the medium is out of the question, obviously. What could possibly lead to this outcome? And I have a few theories, and keep in mind they're just my own theories. One thing that can happen is root death, because roots don't have an unlimited life. They do live for a certain amount of years. But in 2 years, provided you do clean up the orchid of possibly dead or sick roots, in 2 years, the healthy roots shouldn't really die off. We're not talking about dormancy plants here. They usually do hang on to their roots for more than 2 years. So for this reason, even though it's a real possibility, I don't think it was the cause. Another thing that can happen is root growth. If the roots grow so much, they potentially clog up all the spaces in between the leca or the medium you're using. Therefore, ventilation is not possible anymore, and you would pretty much have a suffocating swamp in your setup. Well, that can happen, but I don't know if you noticed, after a few years, the roots start actually to swirl the edges of the pot. They don't grow in the center and pretty much clog up everything. And that space in the center is actually enough to ventilate the pot. But here's the catch. How can a semi-hydro pot ventilate through the center? Because it doesn't have any holes. So you do have an open top, but you don't have an open bottom because you need a reservoir. Now sure, you have those 2 little holes on the sides that maintain the reservoir at that particular limit, but what if the roots actually impair the air movement? Having only 2 side holes on each side of the pot is not really enough to make a proper ventilation. If you obviously compare it to this type of pot, which has all sorts of holes everywhere, and not only, it has a lot of holes on the bottom, and this is a sort of an air cone pot actually. We have big holes here at the bottom, we have the air cone holes, we have the ventilation holes, This has 100,000,000% less chances to get all clogged up than a semi-hydroponic pot with the reservoir. So that's another theory that can explain why these orchids decline after a certain period of time. With a semi-hydro pot, I don't know if you can resolve this. Sure, you can punch some holes on the bottom, but it will stop being a semi-hydro, it will transform into a normal pot. And also I discovered it's pretty hard to actually provide holes once the orchid is inside with an organic medium. And third possible option is bio-load and salt load. And yes, semi-hydro pots regularly get flushed, and it is one of the rules of semi-hydroponic setups. You need to flush your orchids. Well, I do have a few orchids that I'm testing semi-hydro with, and I'm discovering something disturbing. Those pots cannot get flushed properly, or at least how I would like them to get flushed, because you do have this reservoir here and you have the little drainage holes on the sides further up. Well, to flush it, water needs to go down, make a little swirl, come up through the pot and then out. What happens is that the bottom acts like a sort of net, and debris get trapped under the medium on the bottom of the pot. And if you're talking about organic debris, which orchids will produce no matter what, just take a look at the Vanda bucket. They'll get trapped there. What will they do in time? Well, they will start to decompose, acidify the environment, and pretty much lead to what we witness in organic medium. I'm not entirely sure if salts can get trapped, because if you do a proper flush, they should get dissolved. They should be easy for the water to carry in between the spaces in the medium. But when it comes to debris, it's so hard to remove the debris from the bottom if you don't have drainage in the bottom. Therefore, this type of pot for a proper flush, let's say one that I would prefer most, is a lot better than a semi-hydro pot. Therefore, I think you see where I'm going with this discussion. I gave up the idea of using semi-hydro for this orchid. I'm gonna use my semi-hydro hybrid. I don't even know how to call it. It's a variation of semi-hydro, and I'm totally fine with that. Call it whatever you like, as long as it's not misleading. So, what I will do is actually do my setup. I will use the leca and Ceramis together. I will also place a layer of pebbles on the top, and by the way, if I discover that ventilation is not proper with the bottom and the top, easy fix. I just removed some of the pebbles. The current layer that I'm using is pretty thick. I can always remove part of them, and in 2 minutes, problem solved if I have that problem. So in the end, I'm choosing my setup because I can control it pretty much in all aspects. Okay, now that I've explained why I chose my setup, let's see how I prepared the medium. Now, I prepared this medium a little bit different. Here's the funny thing. Phragmipediums don't really like bad quality water, meaning a water with very high pH or high salt content. Now, I had to wash and rinse and soak my medium, and I did this with tap water due to economy reasons. But when everything was done and rinsed and washed, I let this medium sit in osmosis water, leaching out whatever salts from the tap water I had. And of course, this orchid will never see tap water, it will always be osmosis water. So these are the precautions that I chose for this medium. It is now soaked in osmosis water, and hopefully this will help and will be okay. The pot that I chose, of course, it's a plastic pot, transparent, so we can see the roots with a lot of ventilation holes. And hopefully it's gonna be enough for this bushy plant. We'll see how the roots look like. If not, we're gonna need to find a bigger pot. This being said, let us unpot the orchid. Now, because parts of the medium actually fell, I did discover this orchid has a combination of media. We seem to have some type of sphagnum moss, I think it is, also bark, but also rock wool. This is something I didn't see before. Now, there are quite a few people who do use rock wool. Oh, it's so fragile. So you know what? I'm gonna keep a few pieces, not gonna use them with any other orchid, but I'm gonna try to experiment a little bit, see if they are hygrophobic, like Synthic is. So I'm just gonna collect a few of these pieces and experiment a little bit on them before I decide to use this thing. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and unpot the orchid. I have so many new growth. Ooh. That's a lot of rock wool. So yeah, plenty of material. I see salt deposits. Yeah, it's either mold or salt deposit. It smells kind of bad. It might be just mold. Anyway, so it appears that the roots of a Phragmipedium are very similar to Paphiopedilums. Well, they're both slipper orchids. So I do have a few roots that don't appear to be too healthy, but I have quite a lot of roots which are healthy. And as with Paphiopedilums, roots are pretty fragile. They're not bendy at all. The amount of new growth is insane. Now, little orchid, I love you loads. If all of these growths decide to bloom, I shall be a happy mommy. Okay, you guys, so I'm actually on the floor right now. I needed to place this orchid down and remove the medium with my tweezers because, oh my god, this orchid has brittle roots. Simply holding it made roots fall off. And I'm just gonna show you what I mean. So this is a viable root, it's not dead. Alrighty, look what happens. It's not even hanging on by any thread, and it's a perfectly good root. It's unbelievable. You need to be very careful with these orchids. So I'm on the floor right now, and then I'm gonna prepare a tub with osmosis water and rinse it there because I cannot use the sink. And I need to hold the orchid by the leaves more than anything else. Leaves are actually stronger than these roots. Alrighty, this was literally the most laborious root cleaning procedure I have ever done. You think path roots are fragile? Oh no. Imagine repotting a Phragmipedium every 2 years and removing all that medium from the roots. No thank you. Inorganic is what we need. What is this, little worm? Oh wow, this is actually hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so I need to change the pot. So this orchid came in a rather tall pot. If I use this pot, I will have this much of the orchid sticking out. And Phragmipediums do not produce aerial roots. So I need to use this pot so I have a good level. If I try to force the roots to stay in the pot, I will definitely break them. They will decompose in the pot, and that's not funny. Alrighty guys, so my orchid is potted. The layer of pebbles on the top is not very thick because this orchid doesn't produce aerial roots. Whatever tries to grow in the air will pretty much stop growing. So I don't need to worry about roots touching the top of the medium. I just place them there more for layering purposes and also algae purposes. So I don't need to stack up a lot of them. Now, just for the funsies, I counted the number of new growths that I see around the plant. And they're in the 20s, I have to say. Now, either this is perfectly normal for this orchid and everybody purchases big bushes and clumps of the Phragmipedium declemens, either I just stumbled upon the deal of the century. I kind of feel like I did. I mean, 20 new growths, are you serious? Provided they all develop. So for 20 pounds, I don't know, you guys need to let me know in the comments below if you have this orchid or if you've ever seen it. This is the price for this orchid. This is what you get when you pay 20 pounds or 21 or whatever for this orchid. I'm happy and surprised and baffled. 20 or more new growths. This is truly unbelievable for me. So this has been the repotting of the Phragmipedium declemens. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. And of course, I'll keep you up to date. And oh my goodness, if this orchid starts to bloom at some point, imagine that. Imagine the video. We're gonna be in business. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for daily orchids and plants videos. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Don't forget to check the description for things that I might have not mentioned in the video and links. And with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye! So I got an orchid for Valentine's for my boyfriend, and it's a harlequin fowl, which is so pretty. I think he has a thing for harlequins. I like them too, but it's not something I would purchase. I usually go for something else, like something of the sorts. But I have to say, it's really beautiful, and actually no petal looks like the other one. It's just such a cute orchid. I really like it.